Dear students, let me allow to talk about our second part of today's lecture. So why do Malaysia trade? So there are four main factors that cause Malaysia to trade, which are exports, currencies and exchange rate, imports and comparative advantage. So to begin, there are two reasons as to why Malaysia exports, which are firstly, individual and firms have been able to produce more goods and services that can be consumed at home. Therefore, this results in opportunities to sell the excess supply as an export to the other countries that demands for the goods and services. Secondly, individual and firms have been able to sell goods and services to other countries at price higher than the price they can sell domestically. For instance, Malaysia export their palm oil to China as they are able to charge a higher price and gain more revenue as compared to selling it domestically. So this is due to the fact that there is no selling price to the agreement between both countries in trading of palm oil. Then let's talk about the export in developing countries aim in earning foreign currency, which in return enables those countries to buy in essential imports. These are foreign products that they are not able to manufacture, mine or grow at home domestically. So besides, by exporting goods and services, countries can also further advance developing nations' domestic economies. So this is where it results in an increment in the gross domestic product with a surplus in the balance of trade. On the other hand, developed countries' exports are much wider in variety of products. This is where they have more different types of products to be exported out as compared to the developing countries. Moreover, developed countries have a larger proportion of their total production of goods and services. It is where the amount for a particular goods being exported out is much larger in quantity compared to a developing nation. The export sales help maintain high employment levels for the workforce in the industry as well as to maintain economic stability and prosperity. So you can look at this diagram. Okay, one diagram shows total exports in 2018 and another diagram also shows the export, but time period is different. You may have a look at this diagram. Then let's talk about currencies and exchange rates. In terms of currencies and exchange rate, currencies in different countries vary from one another and each currency has its own value. This difference in price is because exchange rates reflect both the local market conditions and the calculation of currency traders on the overall prospects of an economy. Furthermore, when countries is expected to undergo inflation by making their currency less valuable, they are likely to sell their holdings of that currency just like any other commodity. Economists measure the value of a currency according to the purchasing power parity PPP index. The Big Mac index is an informal way of measuring PPP between two currencies and to provide a test of identifying market exchange rates where it shows goods costing the same in different countries. So this can be done by comparing the cost of basket of goods in one country to the cost of that same basket of goods in another country. For instance, the price of a Big Mac hamburger sold at the McDonald's restaurants in Malaysia are compared to those prices to the exchange rate of other currencies. Then a country can never be fully self-sufficient, okay, without suffering a high cost. Malaysia imports goods for three main reasons. Firstly, the goods or services are either essential to economic well-being or highly attractive to consumers but are not available in the domestic market. Secondly, goods and services that satisfy domestic needs or wants can be produced more inexpensively or efficiently by other countries where they have comparative advantage. Thirdly, goods and services from abroad that may be similar in function and price to those available at home, but which differ in quality or features. For instance, Malaysia import rice from Thailand because the country's production of the grain is nearly 30% short from the 3 million metric tons self-sufficiency level. So there are also reasons why Malaysia does not export out our Malaysian rice. One reason is Malaysia is unable to provide competitive prices that meet the retail market worldwide. Secondly, if Malaysia were to begin to export with the subsidy, the more the export, the more the lose. So you can look at this diagram, total imports in 2018 and total imports in 2019. Let's talk about the comparative advantage and the mutual gain from trade. So by definition, comparative advantage is the economy's ability to produce goods and services at a lower opportunity cost than their trade partner. So the theory tells us that countries should specialize more in the production of goods and services that they have highest efficiency and cost advantage. For example, Malaysia has comparative advantage for electrical and electronic goods and machineries, its largest export item. Therefore, countries will only trade when their unique combination of labor, capital, and land factors of production that enables them to produce most efficiently and cheaply. So what happens if one country is better at producing both goods? Should the two countries still trade? What do you think? This can be answered by the theory of comparative advantage and opportunity cost. In economic terms, the amount of the good or service that is sacrificed in order to produce another good or service is known as opportunity cost. That means second best alternative, foregone. Therefore, given a choice between producing goods or services, a country will make the most efficient use of its resources by producing the good with the lowest opportunity cost, the good for which it has comparative advantage. Thus, one country would trade with other countries that provide them with goods that they do not have comparative advantage in. Then let's talk about free trade agreements. Free trade agreements create more accountable and fair trading relationship between two or more countries. This agreement promotes fairness for all countries involved by reducing trade barriers, cutting tariffs, which are taxes on import goods, also establishing fair set of rules and regulations with FTAs, fair trade agreements. Okay, it prevents countries from using unfair trade practices that might create serious repercussion towards local companies as well as workers. So FTAs manage regain countries' growth after facing economic downturn during the crisis by attract foreign direct investment, improve market access, reduce input cost for export, and make exports more competitive. And free trade agreements rebalance the rules governing of a country's trading relationship with other countries they make. The importance of enacting free trade agreements has increased as the world has grown competitive in recent years. So FTAs managed to improve the livelihood and bring more innovations. Okay, free trade agreements have a positive impact on job creation and economic growth and on our everyday lives. So these are the benefits of free trade agreement. So Malaysia currently has signed and implemented 7 bilateral free trade agreement and 6 regional free trade agreements. In 2017, total value of export approximately RM 590 billion, while import total RM 530 billion in Malaysia. Okay. So let's see the bilateral level. Malaysia has close business ties with Japan, then Australia, New Zealand, India, Pakistan, Chile, and Turkey. That means the Malaysia-Japan Economic Partnership Agreement, Malaysia-Australia Free Trade Agreement, Malaysia-New Zealand Free Trade Agreement, Malaysia-India Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement, then Malaysia-Pakistan Closer Economic Partnership Agreement, then Malaysia-Chile Free Trade Agreement, Malaysia-Turkey Free Trade Agreement. Okay. Then let's talk about the pros and of free trade agreement. Well, there is Malaysia and ASEAN partners have established ASEAN Free Trade Agreement. So AFTA, which is called AFTA, is a trade bloc by Association of Southeast Asian Nations supporting local manufacturing on all Asian countries. Okay. So AFTA now had 10 members, including Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, Singapore, Philippines, Brunei, Cambodia, Myanmar, Laos, Vietnam. ASEAN has implemented FTAs with 4 ASEAN countries and 2 Oceania countries such as China, Japan, Korea, Australia, New Zealand, and India. So let's talk about very briefly challenges of trade and globalization. Number 1, the economic challenges. Trade is vital in helping the nation to get higher revenue and to develop the local sector by doing export and import with other nations that are willing to do trade. However, the challenge of trade will always be there, as it will impact the country internally and externally. There are a couple of challenges that will be highlighted here. Number 1 is the economy. Okay, so as we mentioned, that economic challenges. Okay, that tax competition for foreign company who wants to do foreign direct investment in Malaysia. Then the main purpose of harmful tax competition is to attract more investors, which will spews productivity and innovation in the country. However, it gives advantage to multinational companies to set up their offices with lower rates of corporation tax, while the government will lose revenue due to low corporate tax. This will be a challenge for the Malaysia's government to get high tax collection from the international firm, as there will be a lot of capital flight if government impose high tax competition to them. Okay, thus government will be short of money to develop the country. Then social, trade and globalization are wide as the challenge can be. Look at the social side. The social in this part is about the effect from the challenge of trade and globalization to the community in Malaysia. Basically, there are more negative than the positive vibes from the globalization activity. The first challenge is social, is the increase of crime rates, okay, in the effect of local community in Malaysia. Then the increase of foreign labor to Malaysia has caused the increase in crime rates, and on top of the crime done by foreign labor is prostitution, human and drug trafficking, robbery and kidnapping. Besides, the entry point of immigration department may be involved with bribe to give entry to foreigners who have crime record at their home country. And also we are facing the environmental issues. Okay, so Malaysia have become a place for multinational companies that have high polluting activities because the environmental standard here is very weak. So